guys, Nike here. I got the urge after playing some Guild Wars 1 to make some video build guides for some general use PvE builds. Mostly because while the PvX wiki is a great resource, some people do prefer a video guide, and a lot of Guild Wars 2 players might happen to see these videos and become interested in going back and giving Guild Wars 1 a playthrough if they're excited about a particular build and some classic gameplay. Today's build is the Pious Teardown Dervish. It's a melee build with a lot of AoE and very good sustained DPS output, but with a bit less spiking potential than the Vow of Strength Dervish that I talk about in a much older video on my channel. The pros of the Pious Teardown is that it doesn't need consumables to function or hit any necessary attribute breakpoints, has an engaging playstyle, and a few other quality of life factors that make it a bit less annoying to play than some of the other Dervish options. The cons to the build are that it does, like I said, have the lower spike potential and a bit less self-sufficiency, so it's not appropriate for speed clear groups, but it is great for general PvE. Additionally, I find the playstyle of the build engaging because it has a unique sort of quote-unquote DPS rotation compared to other Guild Wars 1 builds, and while the APM is still very low compared to a Guild Wars 2 build, it is significantly more APM than most Guild Wars 1 builds, and many Guild Wars 1 players do find it too intensive for them, although your mileage may vary on that. As I'll discuss, there are some playstyle mistakes you can make that are potentially rather punishing if you mess them up. That's the sort of thing that I don't necessarily look at as a downside as long as you are capable of learning. All in all, I find it to be one of the most engaging Guild Wars 1 melee builds, and considering that dagger spam is the meta on every other melee class, a bit of variety is a great thing, especially if it's effective and fun. So if that interests you, stick around and we'll get right into it. So for gear, the bare minimum that you're going to want is a Zealoth Scythe of Enchanting with a Guided by Faith inscriptions. If you are up for a little bit of min-maxing weapon swaps, you can also use a Vampiric Scythe of Fortitude on swap, but personally for me, I find that a little bit overkill. Additionally, I strongly recommend, as far as gear goes, that all characters equip on one of their slots a longbow in order to pull packs of mobs when that is necessary. Everything else gear-wise is a bit of a luxury, but I do use a shield and spear with the enchant mod on the spear and less damage taken while enchanted on the shield. This set is for times when I plan on running past groups of mobs and have to tank the hits as best I can, or for times when I have to group up the mobs around me for AoE, and I do have to survive for a few seconds of being beaten on. One of my other weapon swaps is I use a staff, an Insightful Staff of Enchanting. This gives me a large reserve mana pool that I can always access in order to always be able to cast. Additionally, while wielding it, the AI hero will consider you to be a spellcaster and cast Blood is Power on you. So this is an especially good weapon for areas with extreme energy denial. Now, for weapons, that's good, but for armor, we want to have Windwalker's insignia on our armor. Now, PvX will recommend Blessed, but I do believe this is an incorrect choice. This build does maintain 2 enchantments on itself at all times, so it's always at least as good as Blessed. And all melee builds in Guild Wars 1 should have a hero on them who casts Strength of Honor on you, so you'll always have a 3rd enchantment, which makes it strictly better than Blessed. Additionally, on my Strength of Honor hero, I almost always maintain Life Bond to ensure that I'm extra tanky, and it gives me a 4th enchantment, which makes the Windwalker insignia extremely effective. Now, as far as the gear itself, you want your helm to be Scythe Mastery, so that we can get the +4 on the helm. You want the best Vigor rune that you can afford, and then you want a minor Mysticism rune on there, and then your other 2 empty room slots, you should use Vitae. And that's essentially it for the gear. All right, attributes and skills. For attributes, we want to have 16 in Scythe Mastery and 13 in Mysticism. Since we are going secondary assassin, I would put the remaining points into Shadow Arts, but it doesn't particularly matter, and you can put them wherever is necessary. And if you don't use assassin secondary, you can put them wherever makes sense. The core skills of the build are Pious Renewal, Aura of Holy Might, Pious Fury, Pious Assault, and Worrying Strike. This does leave us with 3 optional slots. One optional slot, in my opinion, should always be Death Charge on a melee build. Death Charge is simply one of the best skills for a melee player, since it lets you engage packs of mobs without them aggroing on the rest of your party. The mobs will stay balled up around you, which means they get nuked down easier by yours and your team's area of effect. Our secondary optional skill in this build should be another attack skill, and the best choices are Twin Moon Sweep or Eremite Attack. Eremite Attack shines in places where you are absolutely sure you'll be able to ball up very large packs of monsters. But if you can't ensure that, and in most places you can't, Twin Moon Sweep will outperform it in general PvE. Twin Moon Sweep also gains you 127 health whenever you use it, so it is very strong with helping with our sustain. And we have one more last optional slot that can be anything, and we do have room for a PvE skill, so I would recommend going with a Cern Scan. As a melee player, being permablind is nearly as bad as being dead, and this skill removes that problem with the added benefit of quickly eliminating any death penalty you might accrue. If you don't think you'll need either the anti-blind or the death penalty, you could bring any powerful PvE only skill that you feel would be a nice DPS or power increase for you or your team. All right, playstyle. So the playstyle of the build is based around breaking one of the Dervish profession mechanics. So the Dervish has a sub-mechanic known as teardowns, which are a subset of skills that when you use them, it removes one of your Dervish enchantments. Now, removing one of your enchantments is a pretty huge cost because the enchantments are both really powerful, so removing one of them is a big sacrifice in order to get to use one of your skills. In exchange for that, though, you get a skill that is unusually powerful and also undercosted. As a result of this, most Dervish bars are very limited on space because you can't exactly bring a lot of teardown skills, as powerful as they are, unless you have enchantments to fuel them. And if you have a bunch of enchantments on your bar, you can't really bring a lot of teardown skills or have room for any of the other utility stuff that you need in your build. Nor really do you have the energy to spam enchantments and spam teardown skills. So in most builds, you're limited to maybe one teardown skill and maybe one sacrificial enchantment. Well, this build solves that by using the elite skill Pious Renewal. This skill is an enchantment that does nothing. But when it ends, you gain energy, health, and its cooldown instantly refreshes. This means that you can use it, tear it down, use it again, tear it down, use it again, and so on infinitely without running out of energy or without having to dedicate a lot of space on your bar to all kinds of different enchantments that you want to sacrifice. This essentially lets us bring a bunch of teardown skills that are overpowered relative to the rest of the skills that we could be bringing. Meaning we get a bar full of ultra powerful undercosted skills that we can fuel with Pious Renewal. Additionally, with the Aura of Holy Might, whenever we lose an enchantment, we do AoE damage to everything around us. As you can kind of see, there's a synergy there. This is a powerful combo between Pious Renewal and Aura of Holy Might, where every time we use one of our powerful attacks, like Pious Assault, we remove our Pious Renewal, which procs Aura of Holy Might. And we are constantly spamming Pious Renewal and constantly sparing teardowns, so Aura of Holy Might pops off majorly. So the gameplay pattern boils down to maintaining Aura of Holy Might and ensuring that you use Pious Renewal before every teardown skill. This means that you cast Pious Renewal very often. For example, if you have Pious Renewal bound to your 4 key, your gameplay will look like 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 4-1, and so on. My advice would be to make sure Pious is bound to a button you don't find at all hard to reach, and it should be no big deal to keep this up, especially if you're a Guild Wars 2 player who is used to much higher APM and more complicated rotations. The fatal flaw here is to watch out for using 2 teardown skills in a row without recasting Pious Renewal. What this will mean is that you will strip your Pious Renewal and then you'll use the second teardown skill instead of recasting it, and it will strip your Aura of Holy Might. Aura of Holy Might is not only a large chunk of your DPS, but it is also on a very long cooldown. So stripping your Aura of Holy Might is incredibly punishing. But that's really all there is to know about playing the build. You use your teardown skills as much as possible, and you make sure you have Pious Renewal up before them, and it just pumps out a lot of damage. Very good single target and pretty decent AoE. What's not to like? All right, guys, so that's about it. Please do give this one a try, and if you would, please let me know in the comments how you like it and if you enjoy playing it. And if any of you Guild Wars 1 guys want to chime in with any optional skills that you think would be helpful in some different situations that people want to know about, would like to hear your experience. So yeah, leave the comments below. And other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.